nothing else, he bleeds his own press. And sometimes that's all you need.
Very quickly. Really can't lose more dogs.
Paul worked all the major territories in the first 3 or 4 years of his career, and he progressed quickly.
What really made Paul click was that desire to better himself and to bring his family up out of poverty.
My mom and dad met in high school. My mom, she got pregnant at the age of 17, and they got married. They were very young. My brother is Paul Orndorff III.
It's Paul Jr., and they call him Buzz.
He's 9 years older. So we had the same parents, but they were different parents, right? My mom, those years were hard on her. There was a lot of moving. There was not a lot of money. Dad carried baggage from his childhood. He had a short fuse at times. He had not grown up. They didn't have therapy back then. You worked, you drank, and you just lived life, and nobody said anything about anything, and you moved on. That's where you forge bitterness and resentment.
It's so hard to raise a family when you're on the road. The wife's at home and the kids have no dad.
My mom took her frustration out on everybody. She was constantly, talking bad about my father. It was rough. My dad was never perfect. But as a father, he was unconditionally loving. And I never felt like he was that far away.
In 1983, Hulk Hogan recommends Paul to Vince McMahon, opening the door to the hottest promotion in the country.
The topic of this week's update, a gentleman known in professional wrestling as Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
In late 1983, Vince McMahon was starting the national television syndication that would lead to the WWF's national expansion. Hogan's word carried a lot of weight with Vince because Vince was building the entire company around Hogan, and he wanted to bring in people that Hogan liked to wrestle, that he thought he could draw money with. And one of the guys that he brought in was Paul Orndorff.
Introducing the challenger, Mr.
Wonderful! Let's go, baby.
Paul checked every box that he could possibly check, except the experience box. So it was kind of a roll of the dice.
You gotta take gambles in life. They're not dead. They didn't pay it off.
Resistance is in time. You can seize your most precious resources. Yes, we need more.
Live, Grand Twister.
Frontier now with all-in pricing, no hidden fees, no contracts. Frontier Fiber, good to go.
Native, well crafted.
Brunch tomorrow?
Pass.
Farmer's market?
No. 2-minute warning.
Absolutely not. This is where everything plans for Sunday on the line here, Joe. Oh, Ticketmaster, show me some tickets.
50-yard line.
Yes, he caught a great audible there, Joe.
Get last-minute tickets from Ticketmaster.
It's good.
Prefer a GLP-1 pill to lose weight? This is why I'm switching to Hims for weight loss. So, I never intended to be super skinny. I've always been a big guy. But because I noticed how unhealthy I felt when I was bigger, I just wanted to feel healthier. And then my friend told me about weight loss by Hims. Hims is now offering the Wegovy, the most affordable semaglutide that's FDA approved for weight loss. You can get started for $39 a month with an active Hims membership. And the process is simple and 100% online. You take an online assessment, then connect with a licensed provider who determines if a prescription is right for you. Are you ready to see progress? Get started by taking the online assessment now.
Paul was in the WWF within 5 or 6 years after he started, and he'd already been a main event guy in a variety of big promotions. That's a very quick trajectory.
Mr. Wonderful.
Paul took the name Mr. Wonderful because in his heel persona, it indicated that he was a megalomaniac, that he was the most self-absorbed man on the planet.
Hello, Mr. Wonderful.
This is the kind of treatment that Mr. Wonderful gets.
One of my favorite lines is, so with a body like this and a face like this,
When you got a body like this and a face like this, you can do any damn thing you want to do, and I'll get away with it.
he saw his body as a temple. For him, that was his paycheck.
A lot of people try to have a body like this, but they never will.
Paul
was a stud. I mean, he had to have his hair blow dried perfect.
Paul Mitchell hairspray. If I ever get cancer, it's going to be from having to have smelled that my entire childhood.
Oh, look at that. The tail.
There's a reason my dad loved being a heel. Anger is the easiest emotion to evoke.
Oh, he's giving a sign for the pile driver.
The pile driver was Paul's signature finishing move.
Got him upside down now.
He could get a massive jump, and the thing drove him. It was one of the most deadly moves in wrestling.
I mean, my style was different. I would be the best heel there, which it was.
Dropping him like yesterday's newspaper.
Black cockiness and arrogance just went along with that body.
All you women that are ready to leave your husband for me, now you know why. That was me. What the fuck? I mean, that was me. That's the way I was. That's my wife. She'll tell you. I was a jerk.
I think Rhonda wasn't stupid when it came to realizing that her husband wasn't the loyal husband.
I was out on the road sometimes, and I can remember being at different hotels. The groupies and the women standing outside. You gave them money and you gave them fame and all the things that come with it. I don't think my family was immune to it any more than anybody else was.
Girls were throwing themselves at you all the time. I mean, it was like being a rock star.
Following the success of WrestleMania,
In WrestleMania, it was your shoulders that were pinned to the ground, brother, not me.
Vince McMahon recasts Paul Orndorff as a hero, aligning him with Hulk Hogan.
Mr. Wonderful wants Hulkster to shake hands.
Imagine, especially in the 80s, you have seen Hulk Hogan rise to become the champion, and all the little Hulkamaniacs are on his side, and suddenly he has a friend. And you like the friend too. Mr. Wonderful! They were on his side because he was a straight-ahead, all-American athlete.
Just as Mr. Wonderful reaches the peak of his popularity, an injury in the ring stops him cold.
He was in a match. Somebody caught him on the chin. It ended up causing nerve damage that ran through his radial nerves.
It affects your deltoids, your tricep, bicep, comes all the way down into your forearm. Once you have serious nerve damage, it's irreversible.
He could not bring himself to give up that spot and that kind of money to have surgery. And so he soldiered through it.
He had built his body and life around this moment where he was going to capture generational wealth.
Despite the nagging injury, Paul prepares for his most important storyline yet.
I've been trying to call it 5 or 6 minutes. I've been on the phone. He walked up to the phone.
One of the biggest drawing angles you can do is give the hero a sidekick, a best friend, a partner. And he stabs him in the back.
Oh!
During the heel turn, he does what my dad does. He does a pile driver on him.
Oh yeah, baby! Oh yeah, baby! Oh!
He walks over the ropes. This real slow. How do you like that?
When Orndorff turned on Hulkster, that was a monumental spot for the wrestling industry.
Hogan! I loved working with Terry. He made me the hottest heel in the country, and I made him the hottest babyface in the country.
Everything about it clicked. Everything started exploding, and they were just hot.
For 6 months, this feud has gone on.
You sold out a country, man. You sold out all those people that believed in you, man.
Yeah, all the little Hulkamaniacs and the big Hulkamaniacs. They all wanted to see Hulk Hogan get even with the guy that betrayed him.
I mean, I had death threats and everything else, man. Bombs, darts,
Wrestling fans are a whole nother level. It is crazy how driven, motivated, and in love they are with this character. I had a friend that quit talking to me when I was like 8 years old. And a few years later, I am so sorry I hated you. Your dad turned on Hulk Hogan.
I am the most unpopular person in the world. Well, that is an achievement right there.
When they decided to do the big event at the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto, over 60,000 people went to Exhibition Stadium to see Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff.
You know what worked? Everybody in that building believed Orndorff could beat Hogan. They believed.
He's got the shoulder of Orndorff. That was the biggest crowd in the history of wrestling in North America at that point. Here's a guy that grew up in a fucking trailer that they used to use as a chicken coop. Now he's facing the top star in the business, and he's making $25,000 a week, which is the equivalent of almost $100,000 a week today.
I didn't go in here blind. I mean, I had a plan. I truly had a plan for once in my life, and it worked. I was told I was going to make money. And when Mr. McMahon said you're going to make money, you will make money.
He was absolutely on top of the world.
That was a job. And it was a job that took him away from me. And I wanted my dad home. And I don't remember at that period ever going without anything. I can tell you I went to one of the top private schools at the time. Everything was paid off. You remember the old red Tupperware? We had those in the freezer, and there was like money stacked in there. And like one of them fell out and like broke my toe. My mom, she liked the money of wrestling, and you know, she didn't have to work. She had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and it was genuinely severe. This happened in the late 80s, and then, you know, the pills started.
Unfortunately, when he was sending his money home, his wife was spending it all on the wrong things, on drugs and other things.
It was often just me and my mom. She wouldn't wake up on time to take me to school. There was this evolution of pain medication. And, you know, it just continued, and it continued the rest of her life.
The relentless schedule leaves Paul little
Not
time
sure.
at home with Rhonda and their sons, or to deal with his worsening injury.
There were a few weeks where the WWF was selling in excess of 150,000 tickets in a week to see Hogan and Orndorff wrestle. And it was a double-edged sword.
I'd get 2 or 3 days off, and Vince would track me down and want me to come back to work. When you're main event, you can't. You gotta go. And I was one hurt, burned out, tired, flying all day, getting to the gym, and I was working 18 hours a day, man. I did that for 3 years. You know, I got a family to feed.
Dad was still on the road. He was injured, and I got deathly ill. I went from 83 pounds to 52 pounds in about 3 weeks. Dad didn't see me every day, but they would bring in a cot, and when he'd come into town, he'd sleep in my room with me. I lost the ability to walk. My hands quit working. My body kind of shut down. The best answer I
Damn,
got
bro.
was complex regional pain syndrome. But
Bro.
at the time,
You gotta love it, dude.
So the
Puerto
doctor,
Carlos.
at his own wit's end, said, "We think your son has a brain tumor." My dad grabbed him by the collar, pinned him up against the wall, and said, "He doesn't have that thing brain tumor." In that moment, he was angry and he was scared, and he didn't want to lose his baby boy.
I think that always hurt Paul, that he couldn't be around his kids more. But he couldn't do both. And he chose what was going to at least feed him, clothe him, and hopefully he would make amends.
Damn,
when
it's
he
so
retired.
hot. Damn.
By 1988, you couldn't ignore it anymore. His arm was atrophying. It was getting smaller. It was affecting his work.
You looked at his 2 arms, and it was like 2 different people.
He was very depressed about his arm, about the business, about Rhonda, about money, about so many different things. And he's using, whether it was drugs or women, whatever crutch he could find to escape the moment.
Vince had made my dad a promise when he got hurt. He said, don't screw me, and you'll have a job here the rest of your life. And my dad screwed him.
Damn. He screwed him.
After a severe nerve injury to his arm, Paul Orndorff walks away from wrestling, burning a bridge with the promoter who made him famous.
The way my dad left WWF when he did, he upset Vince.
He no-showed Vince McMahon and the WWF after asking for that point, he's almost 40 years old. He had made a lot of money over the previous few years. That's when he decided to retire for the first time from wrestling.
He wanted to get away from the business for a while. He wanted to heal.
He bought a bowling alley and worked it like a business.
My dad knew nothing about bowling, but when my dad left WWF, he had started to invest with a financial advisor named Shelton Thorne down in Florida, somebody he knew from a dentist where my mom worked. And so he trusted my mom and he trusted Shelton. They got some investors together and they opened a bowling center.
I thought that was very unique that a guy of his magnitude would buy a bowling alley.
That's Travis on guard. Paul's little son there.
My dad said, my identity is not in wrestling. My identity is not in Mr. Wonderful. My identity is your dad. And my identity is what I do.
Paul had been so visible in the WWF that when he retired, somebody actually started a rumor that he was dead, and it was picked up internationally.
To get calls at my bowling center, I think somebody said I died on steroids. Shh. That's stupid. I was home. I hadn't been home in 20 years, man.
At home, things are far from quiet. Paul's eldest son falls into a life of crime and addiction.
Damn.
Buzz is Paul's first son, his older son, and Buzz has been in a lot of trouble.
You know, alcohol was involved, DUIs.
Damn, Buzz is a different kid.
Paul Horndorf III has been arrested again here in Peachtree City after another high-speed chase.
I'm not better than my brother. We had different circumstances.
Paul did everything he could to love Buzz, to give him a chance, to forgive him, and all that. Buzz would always turn the wrong way.
The funny thing is he could be the nicest and sweetest person in these moments. You would get your hopes up, but they just were short-lived. My parents ended up adopting my brother's children. I think I was 13 at that point. You know, by the time his kids were born, my parents were raising them. You know, we were going to visit the prisons he was in every Saturday or every other Saturday.
But the trouble at home puts Paul's family and their financial security at risk.
All the money that Paul had made in the WWF that he had ignored his injury for, his business manager, they found out, was a crook and had been running some kind of Ponzi scheme, and his money was gone.
Shelton was getting money from this place to pay this investor as they were going, and it eventually folded. My dad was sued by the investors as well. You know, they didn't win because we didn't have anything.
It hurts your pride because you think you have all your bases covered. And then you get swindled by a person that you gave your trust to.
Shelton Thorne basically bankrupts him, and there's no paycheck coming every month. There's no insurance. He's in a very difficult situation, and he's got to make a choice to go back on the road. And make a living the only other way he knows how. I'm sure it was very emotionally difficult on Paul.
You could tell that it had taken something out of him. And then from there, things just got worse.
You have not seen the last of me.
Take this filthy shower to this sparkling clean. Go try the Mr. Clean shower and tub scrubber and see for yourself.
Weird. Must be a sign.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure thing.
How much do you spend on groceries per week?
Like $150, $200, $200, I think.
Like $350.
$350. You enjoy cooking?
No, but I do it.
And if I told you that you can have award-winning chefs prepare your meals every single week and have everything delivered to your doorstep for much less than what you're spending on groceries right now, what would you say?
No, I wouldn't blame you.
Cook Unity lets you enjoy meals from award-winning chefs. No cookie, no cleanup, just real chef-made food delivered to you every week.
You know, I've gotten letters, I've gotten phone calls from all over the world. People want to know, is it true that Mr. Wonderful has died? Well, I want everybody out there to know that I am alive and well.
2 years after walking away from the WWF with permanent injuries, Orndorff is scammed out of his life savings. forcing him back into the ring.
He knew that the independents were hot. There were places for Paul to go.
When he popped back up in 1990, he went about the UWF and some different independent promotions over the next couple of years. He still looked like Paul Orndorff.
I'm coming after him, hurt. He would never know he was hurt. Didn't affect his work at all.
You could tell if you looked close that there was a little something going on with the arm, but otherwise than that, he looked just as good as he always did. By 1992, I was running Smoky Mountain Wrestling based out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
First of all, I want to ask a favor of all these genetic mutants out here. You got to keep the noise down.
I called him. I said, would you like to come in and work some weekends for me? And he said yes for a very agreeable rate.
At some point, it's your job. It's not in stadiums. It's not to sell out crowds, and nothing like the WWF was at that time.
And you not get first and Dad, get the talk of the town.
These guys paid for his name. And Dad could still work, and he tried to keep his left arm in front of the camera instead of his right arm. And he did what he had to do to take care of his family.
There is a man on a mission right there.
In 1993, Paul changes course, signing with wrestling's most ambitious promotion.
WCW in the mid-90s was they were trying to imitate Vince McMahon's WWF with the entertainment aspect and the celebrities aspect and the glitz and glamour aspect. However, they didn't have the brain power.
But here comes RoboCop, Bob.
WCW's celebrity angles involved D-list people that were on reality shows or on late-night commercials. One of them was a psychic.
Jerry Spivey of the Psychic Companions Network? What are you doing here?
I got a vision. He was on TV everywhere at 4 o'clock in the morning predicting the future. I know you're not okay.
How did you know that?
I got a vision. I don't know why he couldn't see that this angle was going to be the shits.
You're Mr. Wonderful. He had lost who Mr. Wonderful was, and he needed to fall back in love with Mr. Wonderful and kissing the handheld mirror. I hated that gimmick so bad.
So Paul was, again, performing at a high level, doing everything expected of him. But 1990s, WCW was just so low budget and so silly and so directionless. It was just low rent.
If you want to figure out why that happened, Paul was getting paid. That's it.
Still in constant pain from nerve damage, by 1999, Orndorff moves behind the scenes as a trainer for WCW.
While Paul was at WCW, they instituted a wrestling school in-house called the Power Plant, where they would try to train the next generation of their athletes. And Paul was a perfect fit for that.
I may have 15 or 20 kids down every 2 to 3 weeks. But what I try to do is to get the best athlete as I possibly can.
Paul took that very seriously, and he would teach him just the way that he was taught.
He wanted to hand off his legacy to these next generation wrestlers.
Paul had been training guys for some time when the idea came up for an elimination match where Paul would get back in the ring. And the premise of it was that he was wrestling against some of the young guys that he had been training at the Power Plant.
Paul told me that he didn't want to go out there. Yet they insisted that he go out.
Well, I don't mind telling you, Paul Orndorff has been hit a lot of times in his career. He doesn't mind taking a few more.
For a normal 50-year-old man, he looks in great shape, but see, the arms are so much smaller.
Give me the ropes.
Now here's the first pile driver. He hadn't got him all the way straight. He didn't get the jump that he used to, but he stuck him and it was safe. Here comes Jindrak, 6'5", 250 pounds, couldn't wrestle out of a wet paper bag. He goes to power driving. Jindrak tries to go up too quick. Now he got sideways, and they went down backwards.
If I would have came down where I was with him, it would have dropped a bit on his head. But if you let your legs go that way, it don't work.
The weight and the velocity made it kind of like a rear-end car accident from a different angle.
And I hit the ring, my whole right side went numb.
Paul, laying there, had to tell the referee, I'm hurt, I can't get up.
Due to a serious injury to Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, a referee Charles Robinson has stopped this match. It is a no contest.
A stinger is like a knockout punch to your nerve. Sting goes through your entire body, like an electric shock, and then you got nothing. When you recover, you get all the feeling back in your extremities. If it doesn't work out that way, then you're paralyzed.
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff has suffered some sort of neck injury.
He had broken his neck. They stopped the match and called an ambulance.
It's very rare that you stop a match on television. It never happened in those days.
And a standing ovation for Paul Orndorff and the fans.
It's difficult when you're hanging on wrestling at 51 years old and he gets hurt doing his own move.
That was the sign that the neck had gotten too bad and there was no way he could do this anymore at all.
It was God telling him you're done.
From then on, things he could do were very limited physically. The pain was unrelenting for most of his life after that.
I had another operation on my neck, which was the third one. I got to fuse it, take out 2 discs, and put a rod in it. My body ain't not very good right now. It's hurt as we speak.
And we didn't see him for, God, a long time.
In 2005, Paul returns to the public eye, enjoying the fans' appreciation of his legendary career.
To see him go back and be in the WWE Hall of Fame was the icing on the cake. If anybody deserved it, Paul deserved it.
Truly like to say I thank you fans very much. It means a lot.
In 2005, he looked great. He was still himself, but I noticed a decline in his memory. When it hit about 2010, it accelerated from like 0 to 100 when he got cancer, throat cancer.
He knew he had a battle between life and death, and he got through that cancer. But
it's just my memory. It's not what it used to be. You know, this cancer and this chemo and radiation just messed with my, you know.
He would call me over and over and over again and not remember we had just talked. Then I was like, oh my God. Like, I wouldn't even know he was going on these conventions, and I think he got lost at the airport one time. And as I'm telling people this, they're oh, he's fine, and I'm like, no, he's not.
As Paul's dementia symptoms increase, so does the instability of his life at home.
Whenever I was in Atlanta, I always tried to stop and go see Paul. As soon as I saw him, I knew that he was being abused. The man I know was skin and bones and scars and bruises. His wife was not giving him his medicine, not taking care of him. She was getting strung out on drugs.
Oh, shit.
She was doing meth, and she was in pitiful shape. It was sad, very, very sad. A few years before Paul had full onset dementia, he was, not in the best shape. Unfortunately, Buzz got out of prison, and Buzz hit him and broke his nose. How he could hit his own father, I don't know, but
I didn't know what to do. I picked him up from that house and I took him home to my house. I made every attempt to get him to move in with me, but he wanted to go home. He would ask for Rhonda. He wouldn't leave her. Like, I tried multiple times. He needed care, and at that point, she wasn't willing to do that. And that was the first time I called Adult Protection Services. But you have zero control over it. Zero.
He was in bad shape. He didn't know what was going on. And then, unfortunately, the pandemic came in. That was about the end of it.
In 2021, Paul is hospitalized with pneumonia. When he's ready to be discharged, Rhonda refuses to take him back.
I got my mom to tell me where my dad was. And I went in the room, and I walk in, and his hair's all out, long. His leg is shaking. He's nonverbal. It absolutely overwhelmed me. I said, I'm taking him home. They said, you can't. And I said, why not? They said, you're not listed as next of kin. And she said, listen, we've been trying to call your mom for the last, several months, saying that it's time he needed to go home. She's been unwilling to assist, and there's nothing we can do. And I said, get me a social worker. He said, it won't matter. And I said, I'm going to raise holy hell until you do something. And I said, I'm going to take a video.
Coffee works hard, but Crest works harder. With just one kit of Crest Beauty White Strips, bring on your whitest smile yet. So you can serve main character energy at brunch. Bring on whiter teeth that last 12 months.
This is a huge deal. 2 months free of 100% Frontier Fiber. Switch today.
As an Expedia member, all I did was search a flight in the app, turn on price tracking, and then it sent me notifications whenever the flight price changed. Even better was knowing I could earn and use more rewards for future travel booked on Expedia. They've made it so easy to spend your vacation sitting on the beach just enjoying the view. Book now to finally take off on that dream trip.
This is King Dial. We will seize your most powerful and precious resources.
Stand back. I said stand back, Voodoo Ranger.
I've changed my life. Yes, that's it. You
Happen to worship the Resident Evil games.
You remember wrestling? Daddy, you're just eating pepper.
To see a guy that vibrant and that strong and that powerful.
It broke my heart then. It breaks my heart now. You just can't stand the sight of it.
The worst video I've ever seen in my entire life. I was furious with his son.
I was very upset, and I called Travis. Why would you want to put your dad in that light? He's a very proud person. This is nobody else's business, Travis.
And he's like, take that down. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, Dave Meltzer just posted. And I'm like, who is Dave Meltzer? Why would I care what this guy said? That was a plea. I was desperate. I was scared to death. You know, they were saying like people were dying alone in the hospital during COVID. I'm like, that's not happening. It's not happening.
I don't know if you could have been bigger than Paul Orndorff, but even if you're Superman, at one point, it doesn't make it any easier. He didn't know where he was. You could tell it was Paul, but Paul wasn't there anymore.
After posting a video of his father's deteriorating condition in the hospital, Travis faces backlash from the wrestling world.
Wrestlers were upset. The community, the brotherhood, as if I had betrayed him, showing him in this state. And I will tell you what I think my father would say. If he saw it, he'd be mad. And the next day, he'd say he did the right thing. Because he taught me how to make the right decision, even if it was the decision he would make. But he always supported me. I got a phone call from the social worker a couple days later, got a couple apologies, sat down with the doctor, and the doctor said, listen, he doesn't have much time left. I said, okay, well then, he's coming home with me. And I took him home. Best decision of my life.
Now that I know that Travis used the video to try to get his dad out during COVID, makes a lot more sense, because that was deplorable. It was absolutely deplorable. And the bottom line is he got his dad out of there, and that's a good thing.
I heard there's a movie coming out.
I think he was waiting.
Something.
His brother and sister and my cousin came up. My niece, my nephew, my kids, myself. Got to spend time with them every day. I allowed my mom to come visit. She would spend an hour with him, and then she would go home.
I had talked to Paul less than a week before he passed, and he could barely talk. Travis said that he got real excited when he said it was me on the phone, and kind of took that as a great feeling of true friendship that he would remember me.
I used to sell Cokes in the Tampa Stadium and watch Paul play football. He was your hero when you were a little kid, right? He was.
You know, I remember hanging up and tears were coming from my eyes. It just reminded me that we're only passing through.
I was with him till every last second. He died with me.
I believe he died in peace, that he wasn't hurting. He just beat me to heaven.
My children have seen me make mistakes, and I'm fortunate I have great relationships with both of them. The conversation I had with my mother later in life, I was angry. The way I was acting towards her was no different than the way she was acting towards my dad. So I was guilty of that. I knew some of my dad's decisions and how it hurt my mom, and I was guilty of that. As time passed, I not only forgave her, but I came to love her.
Meemaw died in January. Oh,
the
wow.
last gift he left me was his legacy that I would get to share. That first year, people see if they were online, they didn't all comment about my dad. They said, "How are you?" I'm like, "How am I?" And they're like, "Man, we're here for you." And I'm now interacting with these people that I thought I hated. All this anger and resentment I had about the times he was away now has purpose. My dad very much respected the fans that came to see him and the person he was.
That's my boy.
So often what I'll hear is, I was at that event with my father, and they're like, "Your dad is amazing." Yeah. And I get to reply, "It sounds like your dad was pretty amazing too."
Yeah, it took you to
WrestleMania 1. That was his peak. Remember him that night. And keep it in your heart. That's the one that you remember.
He did it better than anybody else that ever stepped out of square circle.
I don't remember
Mr. Wonderful, baby.
really anything bad to say about Paul Orndorff as a person. In the wrestling business, that may be almost unheard of.
Handsome, sexy, rugged, all the things that he was. Paul was truly Mr. Wonderful.
People say your dad is an amazing wrestler, and I'm like, "And a better father."
Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Wrestling got his body, fans got his mind, and I got his heart.
Comicbook.com just revealed more details about the brand new horror thriller, Exclusive Corpses of Lone Women. Comicbook.com just revealed more details about the brand new horror thriller.
Weird. Must be a sign.
Hulk Hogan had long played the role of superhero in the WWF's never-ending comic book. Like the Cape Crusaders of ink and film, Hogan had a penchant for saving the day, vanquishing the unwanted ills and protecting the collective from whatever evildoers may spring up. After a few months away, the Hulkster returned from sabbatical to try and fend off the latest nuisance to the WWF. Sagging business, which laid at the feet of the man playing the hero in his absence. The roster headed into the 1990 SummerSlam in Philadelphia was about as impressive a locker room as any promotion could ever boast. If you put a lot of stock in the WWE Hall of Fame, know that as of 2023, 14 of the 24 men that wrestled on this show have been inducted into that theoretical shrine.
That's not even counting managers, color commentator Roddy Piper, non-wrestling performers like Ted DiBiase, Big Boss Man, and Sergeant Slaughter, nor does it include objectively worthy future inductees like Demolition, Earthquake, and Marty Jannetty. So yeah, a pretty stellar gathering all round. Now imagine if I were to tell you that of the 24 men that wrestled on the 1990 SummerSlam card, only 9 of them would be full-time active wrestlers in the WWF 2 years later. You'd probably think that some pretty major developments had to take place for that sort of wholesale change to occur, and you'd be right. But for now, it was business as usual within the land of Titan. The 1990 SummerSlam at the Philadelphia Spectrum hosted what could certainly be considered a quintessential WWF supercard, reinforcement of some top acts, and the ferrying up the card of fresh blood. The Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, became Intercontinental Champion in the stead of previously injured Brutus Beefcake. Tornado defeated Mr. Perfect in a very short, rather milquetoast match aided by a thunderous crowd response. The recently arrived Legion of Doom didn't have a match, but they played
do, but they're not here, my friend. I apologize.
Exposing Demolition's unfair numbers game and causing them to lose to the Hart Foundation in a scintillating 2 out of 3 falls match. Other new acts were repaints of veteran talents. Hercules and Paul Roma came together through seemingly random circumstances, forming the team of Power and Glory. Together, they defeated the Rockers in a match where Jannetty had to go it alone, due to Shawn Michaels legitimately blowing out his knee weeks earlier. Power and Glory were managed by Slick, as was announced.
Was it the one I had?
Who squashed Tito Santana.
The one I had was actually earlier than that. Let me see.
Was a curious one. Half Phantom of the Opera, half Metallic Cyborg,
9 and 10. Let me go check on my thing.
Austin after getting blasted by a gamma ray. Then there were some oddities, like Bad News Brown threatening to unleash an army of Harlem sewer rats as a counter to Jake Roberts' employment of Pet Pipe and Damien. The rat angle never went anywhere, and Brown finished up with the WWF shortly after the SummerSlam match with Jake. Also departing was Sapphire, following an unusual angle that spanned 2 matches. Earlier in the night,
It's the one that he's underwater. Which one's that one? I forgot.
Sensational Sherry, thereby
The underwater one. Underwater one.
and understandably distracted Dusty
I think it's in
Rhodes
Mercari.
entered his match with
I have it in a
Randy
different
Savage,
account.
only to be further distracted by the gravelly laugh of one Ted
Oh, you know what it could
DiBiase.
be? It could be on my Depop.
At the back of the arena, DiBiase revealed that he was the reason why Sapphire had no-showed, explaining that a bevy of expensive gifts that Sapphire
Oh, I sold them, bro. Yeah, I sold it. Sorry about that. Yeah.
were in fact sent by him. The final
Yeah, I sold it, bro.
humiliation was Sapphire
Yeah,
proudly
sorry about
walking
that.
out in a full-length fur coat,
My
proving
goodness.
once more that DiBiase could buy anyone.
Sorry about that, my friend.
Sapphire was written off TV after the angle, right as DiBiase's new feud with Rhodes began. But in the so-termed double main event, the good guys prevailed. Hulk Hogan defeated the malevolent Earthquake via countout in what was nominally Hulk's comeback match. Based on the tone and tenor of Hogan's post-match promo, it was clear that the powers that be were getting Hogan ready for a third jaunt up the mountain. As for WWF champion The Ultimate Warrior, he did get to go on last, defeating Rick Rude inside the blue barred steel cage, but the steam was dissipating. Warrior flopped as champion in Hogan's absence, as house show attendance fell and the star-audience connection was far less palpable. Re-welcoming Hogan only cast
That's
the shadow
stupid
back
finish.
over the Warrior and
I
reminded
bet
fans
it's someone
who the
that
real
this.
leading man was. The double main event drew an impressive 507,000 pay-per-view buys, not too far off WrestleMania 6's 560,000 buys. But one figures that was less for the new boss and more for the return of the old one. At least the WWF thought so. As the Empire prepared for an eventual re-changing of the guard, more changes dotted the landscape. SummerSlam was called by the oddball broadcast duo of Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper, who had just recently begun donning the headset on WWF Superstars. That's because about a month before SummerSlam, following a 6-year run, Jesse Ventura quit the WWF.
Things had grown contentious between Ventura and Vince due to the body refusing to sell his copyrighted likeness to McMahon, and because McMahon wouldn't let him use his name and likeness for a third-party wrestling video game that was ultimately never released. Due to these disputes, Ventura walked out. Ventura did end 1990 on a high note, though, getting elected mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota that November. It's not clear if fellow Minnesotan Rick Rude attended Ventura's inauguration, but he certainly would have had the time. That's because Rude quit the WWF in October after his own dispute. Out of action with a torn tricep,
What's up, Vince?
Rude's name was still being used in advertising for house show bouts with new rival The Big Boss Man, for which manager Bobby Heenan sometimes filled in as opponent. Rude contended that if the WWF was going to continue advertising his name in high billing for those events, he should get paid for all of those shows, since his name was being used to draw crowds. The WWF disagreed. Both sides argued, and the Ravishing One quit over it.
Said, fuck
And
you
talk about
guys.
timing. Rude was one of 12 wrestlers featured in the WWF's first line of action figures produced by toy maker Hasbro, along with Hogan, Warrior, Savage, DiBiase, Bossman, Roberts, Beefcake, original Demolition members Axe and Smash, Akeem, and Andre the Giant. The figures proved popular for kids and collectors alike, though it is notable how outdated that first set quickly became. When Rude left, Akeem was already gone, Andre had faded out, and Axe would be leaving the following month. Add in Beefcake being in
Don't
the
fuck
midst
with
of a
Andre.
long
What
recovery
did Andre do to your
process from his
food?
parasailing accident, and you're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
almost half of Series 1 being obsolete. Tonka's debut line of WWF wrestling bodies didn't have that problem, as their first set of stuffing-filled tackling dummies included Warrior, Hogan, Savage, and DiBiase, all active, though the fact that both Warrior and Hogan were depicted wearing the WWF title may have indicated numbered days for the face-painted upstart. Amid all the turmoil, there was still fun to be had in the WWF. The October 13th Saturday night's main event broadcast was Oktoberfest themed, interspersing scenes from a star-studded Stein hoisting with bog-standard in-ring action. According to Bruce Pritchard, the lederhosen worn by the wrestlers cost $27,000 to replace, as they were ruined during the expected food fight sequence. On the upside, we did get to learn that Lanny Poffo was a master sausage stuffer, so there is that. In good times and bad, the WWF TV playbook still entertained millions, though one could certainly argue that applying Federation methodology to anything aside from wrestling was a recipe for disaster. Such was the case with McMahon's latest confounding project. In September of 1990, the World Bodybuilding Federation was formed. In true McMahon grandstand fashion, the WBF's formation was announced during the closing ceremonies of the IFBB's Mr. Olympia competition by former competitor Tom Platz, who McMahon had hired as WBF's talent director. The timing of the announcement was meant to jostle the bodybuilding industry, especially when Platz proclaimed that the WBF was going to kick the IFBB's ass. He boldly said this on the turf of IFBB founders Joe and Ben Weeder, and battle lines were quickly drawn. A number of former IFBB talents filled out the initial roster of 13 competitors, including South Africa's Gary Stridham, whose name and likeness persist today as a meme among some in the wrestling community. But by mid-1992, the WBF was in ruins. Despite having the WWF machine aggressively behind it, not to mention celebrity rubs from Lou Ferrigno and Regis Philbin as an announcer, not a competitor, as well as a Saturday morning TV program called Body Stars, people just weren't interested in bodybuilding meets sports entertainment. The competitors were all given characters which true bodybuilding fans scoffed at, while wrestling fans already had their WWF fill with, well, the WWF. The WBF also bred resentment among the wrestlers, particularly when they found out that WBF competitors had something they didn't have: guaranteed contracts and, reportedly, medical benefits. Free crates of IcoPro weren't going to soothe any hard feelings either. Short for Integrated Conditioning Programs, IcoPro was a series of health supplements that many derided for their apparent awful taste. Even after the demise of the WBF, IcoPro branding and advertising persisted on WWF programming into the mid-90s, and the classic IcoPro banner made an appearance at Raw 25 in 2018. While Vince was looking to sign top bodybuilders for his new venture, wrestlers continued filing in and out of the WWF locker room. To offset the losses of Bad News, Demolition Axe, Akeem, the Honky Tonk Man, Red Rooster, and others, some new faces came into the fold, as well as old faces with new looks. After close to a year away, Jacques Rougeau returned to the WWF as the Mountie, an overbearing Canadian law enforcer armed with a debilitating cattle prod he used to shock the opposition. The gimmick was actually subject to litigation.
Did you know that you can get your prep for free? Mister makes it easy and free to get started. Sign up at Mister.com today.
Okay, you're good to go. 100% fiber internet. It's everything I need for my golf simulator.
Or
With the wrestling mainstream consolidated under a single company, only one man dared to challenge the status quo.
I had the balls to step out at a time that I was young. Some people called me stupid, naive, idiot.
I've always called Jeff a carny with a heart of gold. Jeff Jarrett can sell you the glasses off your own face. Jeff Jarrett was the only person who could have pulled off doing a company in opposition to Vince McMahon.
They say don't do it, don't do it. And I didn't listen to him.
Let's get it on right now. It's time for total non-stop action.
Jeff Jarrett's promotion disrupted the wrestling landscape and rewrote the rule book.
I wanted to create a brand of wrestling that was different.
Jeff built this new revolution in sports entertainment, in professional wrestling, and it's pissing off Vince, but there's nothing he can do about it. We all have something to prove.
The story of TNA is so important in the history of pro wrestling. TNA was the underdog, it was the beacon of hope.
And then the whole thing went to shit.
As the foundation began to crack, a bitter power struggle erupted behind the scenes.
Dixie Carter, she divided and she conquered.
You want to bring in Hulk Hogan? Do I think it's going to work? Hell no.
At the end of the day, there needs to be somebody who has control or power.
Jeff had all the backstabbers backstabbing the backstabbers. It just got crazy. It was just one big, shit show.
Jeff wasn't screwing Kurt's wife. Jeff didn't take Kurt's wife. It was a storyline.
I expect you to support me 100%.
It was embarrassing for everybody involved.
It's a hot mess. How do we survive this?
Wrestling is for people.
I never gave a second thought that a big power play was coming.
Through triumph and
Books
turmoil,
you have yet.
the
Oh,
company's journey mirrored that of its founder.
I felt sorry for him. He was so broken.
My drinking went from bad to worse. It was drink
sitting
and
on
drink
your
and
shelf.
get drunk
Oh,
and then black
yeah.
out drunk. I was out of my mind, and I wouldn't go to the hospital.
He was killing himself.
It was clear that this was a different
Maybe it was.
Jeff Jarrett that I'd known and worked with for years.
Through it all, one inescapable truth emerged.
The story of TNA is the story of Jeff Jarrett because TNA is Jeff Jarrett.
It's a story of perseverance. There's tons of lessons you can learn from Jeff Jarrett.
Whether you are a success or whether you are a failure, it all starts with the person on top.
I get emotional thinking about some of the things that I've survived, but I think you can roll over and play dead and die a slow death, or you can get up and fight like hell.
Day
I gotta start this. The TNA story. I have a completely different set of illusions on this today than I did back in
This holds up.
You know, at the end of the day, when I kind of look back on my career, there's no way to succeed in life if you don't have not one failure, but many. You know, the story of TNA is the story of 1,000 what-ifs. I look back on those early days at the core nucleus in the time.
I'd like to propose that Los Angeles consider a pilot program for free hygienic sexual relief clinics, primarily serving the homeless and unhoused. This means equality. It means private sexual relief through masturbation or where appropriate consensual with a partner. All funded by federal tax dollars and managed with professional oversight.
Wait. Are you telling me that you're proposing a program that would be for the homeless to go into a room to, for lack of better terms, relieve themselves? I'm not going to say what they said, or have consensual sex with someone else who is also homeless, all on the...
You had your core of young talent growing up, and you had stars coming in. It was a very exciting time.
Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, Jeff Hardy,
Booker T, Kevin Nash, and myself.
The big man, Booty Daddy.
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. We get Sting, and now we have arguably the best wrestler in the entire world in his prime, Kurt Angle.
The Olympic gold medalist.
Jeff's story and TNA's story are inextricably linked. He was the driving force.
Do I feel validated? Do I feel right of where I'm at today? That is a deep question. I was given one of the greatest gifts, and that is the gift of desperation. And that gift of desperation has changed my life. I'm Jeff Jarrett. I've been in the professional wrestling industry for 40 years, and I founded TNA Wrestling. One thing's for sure. I'm a lifer in this business.
It was a tight style, Jarrett. And it's something to it.
I idolized my father. The wrestling world knew Jerry Jarrett was kind of the boy next door, blonde hair, blue eye, good looks, but behind the scenes, he was the boss, the promoter.
We've been working very hard to try to cut corners and cut prices and still maintain the quality talent.
My parents divorced when I was 3 years of age. My mother blamed the wrestling business on splitting up the family. I lived with my mom, so I didn't see a lot of my dad. He was this wrestler that I saw on TV from time to time. Preteen and then into my teenage years, I started spending summers with my dad. His office was right next to my bedroom, and I saw wrestlers come by the house and pick up paychecks, and there's these 3/4-inch tapes, and I could watch matches. And I think it gave me a set point on how I viewed the business, that it's all storytelling, it's all theatrics, it's all larger than life. Jerry Jarrett was a unique character, so to speak, and also the son of another legendary figure, his mother, Teenie Jarrett.
Jeff's grandmother was the most successful female promoter in the entire wrestling industry. I'm Jim Cornette. I've been in the wrestling industry for 50 years, and I got my first job from the Jarrett family. Jeff, throughout his entire life, his family, everything that they had came from pro wrestling, and it was treated very seriously by them.
I was a young teenager, and my grandmother called, and she said, the folks that run my concessions up in Kentucky are not going to be there, so you're doing concessions, and I'm going to pay you. And one night, I made over $300, and I said, I like this business. I like it a lot.
This match 1 fall, 15-minute time limit. Jeff Jarrett is the referee.
My dad wanted me to get an education in the industry, setting up the ring, marketing, wrestling, refereeing. My freshman year of college, I was a referee at Bill Dundee, and Nature Boy Buddy Randall came out and beat me up, roughhoused me, and my dad came out. He got involved. Our plan was for me to go back to school in the fall, but I never went back.
Wrestling has been my whole life. It's something that I hope that my children go into as Jeff had.
It didn't hurt that Jeff was a great athlete, and he was a great in-ring performer, and he had the psychology, and he could talk.
definition of bluff is when preparation meets opportunity. Right.
Ooh.
Young, good looking, sells his ass off.
Wait a minute. What did I get? Wait, what did I get, baby?
I think that was probably a real opportunity to branch out and do something other than Jerry Jarrett's son in Jerry Jarrett's company. My name's Scott DeMore. I've been in the wrestling business for over 30 years.
Oh no.
Double J Jeff Jarrett was a country music superstar. Double J! Jeff Jarrett! You know, probably not the character that you ever look at and go, oh, wow, that's our future world champion.
Maybe tonight.
They had done these vignettes to introduce the characters, which I thought was brilliant because they were cheesy, but at the end he goes, it's J-E, double F, J-A, double R, E, double T, that's double J, Jeff Jarrett, smile, twinkle, sound effect, simple cheese. I am David Sahadi, and I've been in the wrestling business for over 30 years. Jeff has great talent, where whenever the cameras are rolling, he can just turn it on and be that character in a heartbeat.
And there, the skills, Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
And then his second character was a pissed off guy.
Don't even look me in the eye, because that's enough to piss me off. Whoa.
At that time, the Attitude Era was red hot. I cut my hair and Don't Piss Me Off, and the guitar really started to come and play. And so, with the Attitude Era, Double J had a new attitude.
As his star rises in the WWF, Jeff balances the demands of his career with the responsibilities of a young family.
I had my first wrestling match April 6th of 86. April 8th of 86, 2 days later, Jill and I had our first date. She was a sophomore, a few years younger than me, so we were both just kids. Fell in love, and we were both ready to conquer the world. She was someone that very quietly always supported me behind the scenes in a major way. She never was around the wrestling business. It was kind of from maybe the old school mentality that I went off to work and she stayed home. And that was how she liked it. She had her first round of breast cancer in the late 90s, and so I stayed home to take care of our first daughter. It was just a real tough time. But she got better, and I went back on the road, and I was kind of right in the middle of it with Owen.
And then Owen, he's a Canadian hero, Owen is. Owen's from Canada, Jeff Jarrett from right here in Tennessee.
Our life experiences were very simple. Owen Hart was the son of a wrestling promoter, just like myself. We were both at our stage in life that, you know, young wives, new kids, our career. It's hard to describe unless you really are the son of a wrestling promoter. He was my best friend.
They were a great tag team because they'd both been in the business and around the business since they were kids.
Here we go now. Ladies are off the ropes.
And at that point, they'd given Owen the Blue Blazer gimmick. And he would fly into the ring for this big grand entrance. And that's why he ended up in a ceiling in Kemper Arena.
Authorities in Kansas City are investigating the death of a professional wrestler in a spectacular stunt that went wrong last night. Owen Hart was being lowered by a cable into the ring. When he suddenly plunged, the audience had to be told it wasn't part of the show.
There was no wrestling storyline. There was no angle. My best friend died in a work accident.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing live television, a lot of things can happen, and sometimes they are not good. The Blue Blazer, as we know, as Owen Hart, was going to make a very spectacular superhero-like entrance from the Raptors, and something went terribly wrong here.
All of a sudden, Owen's fallen. Owen's what? Owen fell. Owen's hurt.
He was coming down on a cord, and all of a sudden it snapped, and he dropped, and they were pumping his chest.
Jeff literally had to stand there and watch them wheel Owen out.
First off, Owen Hart, I'm praying for you, buddy.
I said before, I can't believe it had stopped the show.
I believe Jeff was the next match. I don't know how he was able to pull off that match. Seeing what happened, being there.
Owen fell 82 feet to his death, and I was in the ring and walked through the crater that his body left.
I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died.
That had to just tear your heart out.
In this business, I guess you got a lot of acquaintances, but very few friends.
I wondered for many years and never voiced it. Why did Owen have to pass away? He's the good guy amongst all of us. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't cuss hardly. Great husband, great father, great guy. So, survivor's remorse. I think I never wanted to face losing him, but stuffing it and putting on an emotional mask that I'm here to go to work, never take time to grieve, never take time to be Jeff. In a lot of ways, that was the beginning of breaking me down.
Can't imagine it. The last defender. I do. This is not here, brother. They're in a different storage thing. Oh snap!
And also, Danny Moe, Cocaine versus one another. The winner will become your legal guardian. If it's Cocaine that wins, Barnabas keeps you. But if Danny Moe wins, she takes you. Your thoughts? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
What's wrong?
There is no sound quite like the crinkle of a fresh bat, and the hope of pulling that hit, or the sound of a ring canvas shaking after a big spot at a local game. I'm Paw Paw Foot. This is Von Geen. This is Davette. They are the Nerdgasm Variety Show. If your personality is a mix of TCG pulls, exploring dungeons, lightsaber duels, and obscure cinema, then the Nerdgasm Variety Show is for you. We're diving deep into the worlds of superheroes, space travel, cryptozoology, and other amazing collectibles, but we're also celebrating the beautiful weirdness of B-film cult classics. From playing your favorite video games to building the ultimate commander deck for Friday night tabletop games, we don't just cover this stuff. We live for the hype, the lore, and the community that makes it all worth it. Subscribe, stop searching, and start watching. Hit subscribe and join the show. Your inner nerd will thank you.
London schedule for one fall. That is for the JCW Tag Team Championship.
Wow, this title fight might give Mark Roberts a nerdgasm right now.
Dude, it's like live right now. Wow.
All right, Zach, I
of Chopper City over these past several months. What have you made watching this team from a distance? Listen, I have caught up with every single episode of Luke. I don't miss it even when I was out here, and it has been incredible to watch Chopper City become a phenomenon. Look at that.
She's a cutie, dude.
Everyone knows that he's the Chop. These guys, they're phenomenal.
Oh, snap. Oh, no.
Well, now is the time we would normally hear the Valley from Barnabas. Yeah. The carnival partner